All I've really got to do here is get these plants up and get them spread out, and it's something I could do with the sweat of my own labor. But when you do a large project like filling a ravine and replacing a retaining wall and replacing the woods, it's a different type of planning. Now literally I'm going to replace the woods because I was spending $300 to $500 to take down trees that were at risk of falling on the house, and yet still back-to-back hurricanes, I got a big giant tree across my shed down there. And if you've seen other videos, you'll notice that there's 2 trees missing. This is in an urban space. This is what's classified as estate residential. So there's an acre, about an acre and a half acre property. When you're managing something like that, it's a whole different story. Here, for these beds, to prepare them, all I had to do is take down the little trees and shrubs that were here, dig up all the nursery stock, the bulbs, the things that I can replant, and then I'm going to come back in and level the whole space with a thick layer of wood chips. Now I've got a permaculture design certification, so everything we do here is within the permaculture ethic. This is a zone 1 garden space. It's going to be easy to access from the front of the house. It's not very pretty right now, so what we're doing is on the outside towards the street, which is our driveway, we're going to have as many bulbs and flowers as possible. On the inside, I've got nursery stock, and I've got to bring all the hardware in from out of the woods, the food forest, and other areas, because when they start bringing in structural fill and they start bringing in other materials, heavy equipment, that stuff can't be out there. But there's a link below where you can get on our mailing list to learn how to manage large garden projects, large land projects, homestead, small farm style. I've got a client that has 200 acres, and she's telling me about all the things that she wants to do and all the ways they're going to make money to cash flow the property and all the ways they're going to be able to keep it. There's 3 or 4 houses on the property, and they are, in fact, renting some of the houses, but they didn't get to that point until after we talked. She wanted to run cattle, she wanted to run chickens, she wanted to run goats, she wanted to grow biomass crops, grow bamboo. The list went on and on. In fact, I have got a program called How to Make Money with Your Land that lists many hundreds of ways to make money with the land. But the one thing it doesn't share is the fact that running a land project, the operations of a farm, are much different than managing a garden. A lot of this stuff from the garden I can compost. Now I have been able to gather enough biomass materials to compost 8 cubic yards a year. Last year I didn't even turn to compost myself. In fact, I had a kid down the street taking care of that, and it's a good opportunity for him to learn and a good opportunity for him to make some money. I think he paid for his own baseball camp. But here's the thing. Look at this nursery stock. See these bulbs back here? See the bulbs? These are just the bulbs that fell out. This right here, the bulbs that fell out when I was digging things up. Well, that could be an income stream. That could be a beautification of the property. That could be a cost reduction when you know how to plan large land projects. In fact, these projects can increase your property values, improve structural of the property. So I hired 2 professional engineers that looked at the property. And this retaining wall is passed into life. It has to be replaced. In fact, that's why I'm doing these programs, to raise money to pay for this kind of stuff, but also to teach you how to manage large land projects. Because a garden is one thing, but having a forest to remove trees, an excavator come in and level out land and build terraces, and to have that structurally done the right way. You can see my chimney. Chimney needs to be replaced. Now, these are older homes. Chimney needs pointed. It needs the crown put back on it. It needs to be cleaned up. The house is 50 years old already. Great energy efficient house. Incredible solar profile. So I picked the right house, but how do I know 5 years ago that the chimney needed to be repaired, or that it was going to continue to leak, and that we're going to have several ice storms that were going to expand the flashing and cause it to swell and leak? The roof needs replaced. The landscaping is just one thing. And what happens today is many people start living in a property, they have these dreams, they have this deferred maintenance on the property, and then what happens? What happens? The property doesn't, Mercedes going by there, and I want to give them a little wave. Anyway, this is an affluent urban neighborhood at one time. 1960s, this place had more millionaires per capita than anywhere in the United States. I'm in Martinsville, Virginia. You look that up. Now, here's the thing. This house was owned by a doctor. This house was owned by a professor. This house was owned by people who invested and made a quality home. Now, good old chumpo me is in here, And I got two choices. One, I let it go to shit by deferred maintenance. Now there's enough deferred maintenance that when I got in here, that it needs to be taken care of. That's part of managing a house. Or number two is I can man up and I could take care of this property just like I bought the one next door. I bought the one next door because the junk that was living in there were throwing parties, barking dogs, and the neighborhood up the hill has $1 million homes. Down the hill has a $700,000 home. They've been on the market for 2 years. By the way, if you're in Silicon Valley and you're looking to find a place to live that's quiet, doesn't have a lot of action, but has very, very high-speed internet, then link below, contact me. We'll hook you up with some $1 million properties that would be $4 and $5 million elsewhere. There's 10,000 square foot houses that look like, actually the one down the street was actually in Home and Gardens magazine a while back. But here's my point. It's one thing to manage a garden. Simply remove, level, put some garden beds up, fill it with compost, and plant. That's easy. See, everybody wants to do that. And it's great. It's good exercise. It looks beautiful. But what if you're managing an acre? What if you're managing an estate property? What if you have a full-time job and you can't do this work yourself? Now, I'm not gonna call out a neighbor here, but you know, just to be fair, the trees on my property that I couldn't get a tree service person out fell and ripped the chimney off my neighbor's house. So over here, they've got a beautiful brand new chimney. I think I did a video on this, but here's my point. There are certain things that he had to do to get that contractor out. Now, there's, of course, in a small town, there's relationships. He had to know that he could trust the contractor, and he was willing to wait because he needed to get somebody he knew that he could trust. And I highly recommend the folks that did the work for him. In fact, they're going to do some work for me. But trying to get my own chimney done, being a northerner, talking fast and all that. By the way, my family's been in Virginia since 1714. We came over in the original Germania colony. But see my chimney up here? I've had everything from guys saying, oh yeah, we'll take care of that. I need $1,000 cash to get materials. You know, I've had guys that want to use stolen materials. I've had guys that were not licensed, bonded, insured, but they want to walk around on my roof. There were guys that told me they could fix the chimney, and when I asked them to describe the basics of what they were going to do or what needed to be done, they missed out points like water damage, the impact of mold. So you got to know these things. Whether you're doing the work or you're having somebody else do the work, you got to know these things because there's always hidden problems around the property that'll come and bite your ass later. Now, this particular property, I'm improving the landscaping, but the previous owner actually installed rare and regional plants that I don't want to mess up. Like here's rhododendron behind me. Now there's some erosion. We got the erosion fixed. We got some of the water fixed. When the grading's fixed, I want this rhododendron nice, but guess what? Rhododendron tends to sprawl out. So you don't want that next to your house. I want it up there next to the drive here where I have the rhododendron. It looks beautiful. There were 8 to 10 different types of ferns in here. Beautiful ferns. But when they planted them originally, that was the perfect place for them. But when they're 5 or 10 years old, that's not the best place. So I split those ferns up, nurseryed them, and now I have ferns all over the property. Beautiful things all over the property. There's actually Russian olive on the property. Now, Russian olive's a great nitrogen fixer, but it can get kind of crazy. So there's ways of managing that. Now, I enjoy doing some of this outdoor stuff, but down the street, a friend of mine, they were telling me it costs them $9,000 a year to keep their property maintained. Now, I looked at it, and they're smart people, they're busy people, and I understand the choices that they made. But their contractor was taking them for a ride. Not only with that, the contractor was overcharging them for plants that are commonly available on the property and just need to be divided and spread out. In fact, here's a little secret of the landscaping business that you might not know. See these flowers? I see people taking them out all the time. Okay? So they're digging these out when they get clustered and the flowers get a little weak. They dig them out, take them back, divide them up, and then sell them back to the customer. Well, I get a little exercise. I come out here and dig them up. I show the kid how to do it. I dig them up, spread them out. I got beautiful flowers, hundreds and hundreds of flowers everywhere. Now it's coming into the spring. There's some things that I need to get done, but there's going to be stuff that I can't do that I got to hire staff to. When do you hire them? What's the right time? Well, there's a link below where you can get more information about managing your homestead, about managing large land projects. In fact, scheduling the maintenance and having the right funds available so that you don't go out of pocket on a lot of this stuff. I spoke with 2 banks yesterday, and I can share with you the tips that they gave me. Again, I got part of my retirement account next door. Was that a good choice? Was that a bad choice? Well, I work out of the house. I got an office in the house, and if I choose to have maybe turn the conference room into a theater, I could just go use the house next door as an office space. Or if I have other people working, I got in trouble with the city for having too many employees at the house, which I swear they were not employees. I hired them from a staffing agency, so technically I was within the laws according to my lawyer. Long story short, folks, managing a garden is one thing, and having a garden is great, and you should have a garden. But don't neglect the total property. I'm not going to tell you your home is an asset, but I am going to tell you that if you get the right home, you take care of it, you can spin off equity on that property. You can set it up later as a rental. You can set it up in a trust to do certain things with. If you're a lawyer or a doctor or you have a home office of some kind, there are deductions associated with that. There's a lot of things that if you talk to your CPA, they can share with you that you can do at your place. But if you cannot manage the contractors properly, if they're taking up an exorbitant amount of time, like for example, cable TV guy, high-speed internet, we got lots of high-speed internet around here. They were dropping RG58s, and like an older style cable. I actually came out and looked, it looked like an old used cable. I knew enough from managing properties and doing data centers that they needed to run the exterior orange cable. I think it's a RG68. Don't quote me on that, but it's a lot thicker cable. It's got a gel casing on it, and now my internet runs like a champ. Now, if I didn't know to do that, I'd end up with shitty old internet, and even worse, I couldn't get the high speeds that we need today for business. So when I'm doing video and I'm doing webinars, and we do a lot of training where we can answer your questions, I'm not actually going to go find you the answers. I got staff to do that. I'm not going to go find a contractor come do some work or schedule them on Friday. Right now I got 2 tickets out to schedule an eye exam and schedule some other stuff. We're going to talk about utilizing a personal assistant, utilizing maybe a household manager. Now, I'm thrifty as anything. I wanted a house that's 1,000 square feet on a big giant piece of land, but you know, when you're married, you don't always get what you want. But here's the point I'm making, folks, is that if you are living in a 10,000 square foot house or a 20,000 square foot house, like some of the people that I've worked with as clients, and there's reasons to live in a house that big. One reason is that $1 million mortgage has better tax deductions. But here's my overall point. If you're not maintaining that place, you could end up with a giant shithole that wears you down emotionally. It wears you down just in your ability to perform, or you end up paying an exorbitant amount of money to keep that thing clean, and you miss out on opportunities to get that relaxation. This is my therapy. This is my therapy to be working out here. But you know what? The big projects have to get done. Fortunately, I've managed data center migrations. When I was 20-something years old, I had a $2 million budget for IT services. That was my personal budget as a consultant on a project. I've worked with, we were spending $1 million a day at a major bank doing data center installations for storage arrays. And there's logistics involved. But guess what? It's all the same logistics that you can use for your home. In fact, some simple schedules and some simple calendars, you can have your maintenance taken care of in an appropriate manner. You can have your home values increase. You can maintain good, strong lines of equity on your property. You can do things that reduce debt. So you could end up with $1 million home and no debt. You could end up with in my case, of a $150,000 home that at one time was worth $500,000, that me and the neighbors are all getting together as part of a community to improve this place so we can get them all up to maybe $250,000. But there's a lot of options here, folks. I want to make sure you have those options. There's a link below. You can get on our mailing list. I hope you've learned something about what we're doing here, about some of the basic planning for a garden, and you understand the difference between a garden and managing the whole property. Managing the whole property is different. You're either going to get taken for a lot of money, or you're going to have landscapers. My favorite thing, if you got a landscaper, I personally believe your yard should look like a natural, organic country club, okay? And those are popping up everywhere. I think you should have bird habitat, beneficial insect habitat. You should have low maintenance, low mowing. But guess what? if your guys are out here mowing every day and your yard still looks like shit, and your flowers, they're replacing the flowers every season, and they're putting in what they call the seasonal plants, and they're pruning your trees, but they just don't look right, and they're, you know, it seems like they're out here all the time. Well, guess what? They're probably taking you for billable hours. They're going out and getting a bunch of low-skilled individuals that don't know a damn what they're doing, and they're out here working on your yard, and they're charging you through the roof, 5 times, 10 times that contractor value. Many times, their most difficult thing is keeping those contractors drug-free. That's their biggest problem, because they don't train them, they don't teach them, they come out there and they work. I've seen estates, 40 acres, 50 acres, 130 acres, ran by 1 or 2 maintenance people. Okay, I know a family in this region that has 1 full-time maintenance guy and is running maybe 30 rental properties, 300 or 400 acres of land, and it is all improving in value. It's good quality investments. Now, your home, I do not believe is an investment, but you're going to spend a lot of time there, so it needs to be nice. So before you get urged to remodel a kitchen, before you get urged to have those creature comforts, I want you to step back a little bit and think about nature, to think about the environment that you live in. When you pull up to your home, do you have that feeling of, do you have that feeling of grandeur that intimidates some people, but makes you feel like you finally got to where you want to be? So rather, instead of having a bunch of deferred maintenance and a bunch of headaches and struggles working with contractors, you have maybe somebody who comes by and does these things for you. In my case, I sit at a desk most of the day, so I do enjoy coming out and working in the garden. And again, I invested in a permaculture design certification, and I've got experience with horticulture, and that's been my hobby thing. The rest of the time, I'm a business analyst and project manager. But here's the larger take-home value. It's so much different managing a small garden like this, and I want you to start with a small garden. But when you're ready to step it up, when you're ready to have fewer headaches with your property, more consistent and enjoyable entertaining. So I have a lot of friends that come over, and I go to some potlucks and things, and it's great to see their beautiful homes. But then when the stories come up about the contractor who camped out for a week and then showed up one day, was acting strange, and he had to fire the guy, but now he's spent the last 3 months remodeling a bathroom. See, and it's not necessarily the guy's fault, because he knows how to manage people, but there's certain things that you can do to protect your interests that in that case he shared with me, and I can share with you. When you're doing a large land project, do you hire the tree services companies, or do you just take down the whole damn woods? And if you take down the whole woods, what are you left with? I got pictures in previous videos, and I know I'm going on a little bit here, but I got pictures in previous videos where people have taken down the woods and then had nothing but trouble, erosion, foundation issues. They basically have a beautiful home sitting on a sinkhole now because they did not know what to do. They did not know to ask. Now, I will tell you that this information is not readily available. And if you have a large enough estate, you will want to hire an estate manager or a property manager who can take care of these things for you. But in the past, I've had property managers running rental properties, and you still might have some problems. So you at least need to have a certain level of awareness. So when you follow the link below, you're going to be able to ask your questions, the biggest, most pressing questions about managing an estate or managing a property. Now, I've already done most of this video once because I had my headset on and the audio didn't work. I'm going to wrap this up right now just saying, look, folks, you can have a beautiful land. You can have it fit your lifestyle. You can maintain property values and in many ways increase property values. You can have security for your family with good quality organic foods. And if you have that dream about having a more relaxing retirement, well, maybe you can start with the home you have today, and you can make it the place that you want, but also keep it looking beautiful so that you can easily turn it over. A lot more buyers are thinking about organic, low-maintenance properties, and they want to be able to just come in and have the things taken care of. Now, if you're a landscaping contractor, I know I've been ratting on some, being mean to some landscaping contractors, but I got a number of clients who are landscaping contractors who use these systems to restore properties, especially historic properties. We're using a lot of Thomas Jefferson techniques, and there's a whole article about that on the site. But you may want to also learn about managing large projects too, because you know, a lot of other contractors are making you look bad. And when you can go in and show that you can manage a large project, you can get the whole estate, or you can get the whole property and get that country club feel at the home, that what I call the blue collar built more. You can have a beautiful, luscious garden estate, but not have to send out 40 guys to do the job. Get a few specialized individuals on your team, and then send out the laborers just to clean up. It puts you at a lower risk, reduces your liability. Only reason people in Martinsville put up with that stuff is because there's only like two landscapers that are worth a damn, and the rest of them are just jockeying around with the cheapest labor they can get and not really getting good work done. But let me just wrap it up. We're just finishing up here. I'm moving the bulbs. I have a couple nursery areas on the property in order to propagate plants, so that I've probably got $3,000 to $4,000 worth of plants out here just going into the ground that I didn't have to buy. And I enjoy doing that. You can have a gardener do it. You don't have to do it yourself. But we also are going to level this out with wood chips, untreated wood chips. We should always be using untreated wood chips if you're concerned about the environment and your health of your pets and your family. No carcinogens on wood chips that come off from a tree trimmer. But these will level out. They'll rot down, and they'll provide food and materials for worms, so that we get that nutrition in the soil. After this nursery bed's finished off, I'm going to get the bed closest to the house ready for, like I said, I got about 2 more cubic yards of compost that we made on the property. I'm going to get that other bed ready for brassicas and herbs. And we're going to do that close to the house. Anyway, I'm Justin Hitt with Prosperity Homestead. I want to thank you for watching. Again, there's a link below where you can ask your questions. And look, if you've got a property with an acre or more, or you've got a homestead, or you consider your property estate property, man, there's a lot better ways of to spray and pray to get year-round green grass and beautiful yards and long-term results that don't require a lot of out-of-pocket. It don't require a lot of time on your part. I want to thank you for watching. Again, I'm Justin Hitt from Prosperity Homestead. That's www.prosperityhomestead.org. There might be a special link below where you can ask your questions. There's definitely one in the description. Thanks for watching.